Welcome to Confessin the Blues, a podcast about the blues music that matters to dancers. This is a very brief episode number 9 for the tail end of April 2010. My name is Keith Big Papa Shapiro from Austin, Texas, and we're mixing it up just a little bit this month. With Blue Shout and some pretty ridiculous schedule conflicts, Jonathan and I just weren't able to find a time when we could work on the show together, so what we've done is we've split it up. Here's how it's going to go down. I've got some new music for you this month from me. I am going to briefly talk about Blue Shout with a full post-mortem to be served up next month, including our song selections from the Blue Shout staff that I wasn't able to get to this month. And then I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan, and he's got some music for you and some feedback. And finally, I have got a couple of pieces of audio feedback that I want to share with you guys. So let's get into it. Let's start off with St. James Infirmary. It's a standard. I've actually taught a class on this song. We did it as a musicality class, and I just played about a half dozen different versions of the song and tried to get people to take something where they already knew what was going to happen and really listen to what was going on in the song. So you've got a song that runs the gamut musically from sexy to sultry to smooth to downright depressing. The version that I've got for you this time is not the version that I played during Blue Shout, but it is still absolutely fantastic. I actually didn't have this song during Blue Shout, so this one is brand new to me. Major props to Joya Rico. Yeah, I got your name right this time. For turning me onto the album. Ironically, she gave this to me while I was asking about tracks for a West Coast swing hour that I had a DJ here a couple of days ago. The band is the Blue Vipers of Brooklyn. The album is Goodnight Harry. The track is on eMusic, and you should totally check this out.
It was down at old Joe's barroom at the corner by the square. Well, the drinks went around as usual, and a goodly crowd was there.
Right, so the Blue Vipers are another one of those New York City street bands, kind of like Tin Pan. They've been around since about 2006 with a focus on 20s and 30s jazz, blues, and Americana. If you haven't gotten it yet, that sort of thing is a real big turn on for me. It's one of the things that I love about Tin Pan and the Silent Street Spankers. You know, don't get me wrong. If you listen to me play, a lot of the music that's in my wheelhouse is in that 50s and 60s West Coast urban blues style. Love it, especially for dancing. But I also adore this early stuff. Now, if you listen to music from the 20s, there's like actual music from the 20s. Find some early Bessie Smith. We've focused on some other stuff as well. But there's often an affectation to the vocals. It almost sounds as though the singers are over-pronouncing things to sound more proper. It's that enunciator voice. And so we're going to be very proper. It doesn't jive with the musical aesthetic that I grew up with. And so if you listen to remakes from the 60s, the Dinah Washington Does Bessie Smith album, for example, you'll hear that they've reinterpreted these songs and they're fantastic. That Dinah album is absolutely unbelievable and you should own it. What I also love, though, are the younger bands, the bands that are playing today, remaking these songs. They're playing with a musical perspective and a musical history as they were raised, as they were, growing up, that matches mine in a lot of ways, because we're all about the same age, 30s and 40s, and we have, a similar musical history. So hearing people from our generation musically reinterpret this 20s stuff is fantastic. So, Blue Vipers of Brooklyn, check them out. Next, moving forward in period and backwards in time, let's talk about Johnny Hodges. Johnny Hodges is my Ellington connection for this month. This guy has a pedigree that is nearly unmatched. He started his career with Chick Webb and Sidney Bechet until he took up residency in Duke Ellington's band as a lead alto sax. So this guy is, the best of the best. He took a brief intermission in the 50s to lead his own band, but he came back to Duke's band right before that reemergence at Newport 56 where Duke reinvented, and all of a sudden, it was blowing everybody's mind. The track that I've got for you this time is called Dream Blues, and it's off the Essential Jazz Masters album on eMusic. Check it out. Unfortunately, I can't find any information on this album out on the web, so I have no idea which band he's playing with, and I don't know what the lineup is for this track. So, if you know that, hit me back in the feedback at info at Confessing the Blues or 60 the Blues on the phone if you have the info. Brief aside, eMusic has completely changed the landscape for jazz and blues music collectors, and here's why. I found 2, 3, 4, quite a few box sets that are on eMusic that were otherwise, you just couldn't find them. Some of them were out of print or they were just really expensive. One of them was the Johnny Taylor box, which I bought on CD and then showed up on eMusic a couple of months later. One of them is the Sam Cooke box set, The Man Who Invented Soul. That one is not out of print, but it's like $45. And clearly, from the title, this is not a $45 that you're going to put down on the table if you're looking for, 5.5, 6 hours of blues. Man Who Invented Soul. But I do love Sam Cooke. And he did, on occasion, shut up for just a second and let a moment happen. It's a big complaint about Sam Cooke. As great as he was, sometimes he would oversing the songs. But sometimes he'd let it go. This song is one of those times, and it's called Trouble Blues. It's absolutely gorgeous, and you need to listen to it right now.
You, night and day, but I know that someday, darling, I won't be trouble no more. Trouble.
That's right. Let it sink in. Now, Sam Cooke was shot down at the age of 33, which is a tragedy that ranks up there with some of the greatest tragedies of all time. Musically, anyway. Anyway, moving on with the theme of soul and fantastic male vocalists. Oh, wait, hold on. eMusic, real quick, just added the Led Zeppelin catalog. So, Strider, if you're listening, have at. Otherwise, soul. So, we're going to keep on with the theme and fantastic male vocalists and soul, and we'll move forward to Mr. 5x5 himself, Jimmy Rushing. I am almost positive we have talked about Jimmy Rushing before, and if we haven't, we'll do it now. The album is called 5 Feet of Soul. It was recorded in 1963, and it's Jimmy Rushing. He's 60 years old. He's backed by an incredible crew of Basie alumni. So you've got this top-notch band, including Zoot Sims on the sax, and you've got Freddie Green on rhythm guitar. The lineup is just all-star. The track is Trouble in Mind. Check it out.
Trouble in mind, I'm blue, but I won't be blue always, for the sun will shine in my back door someday.
Now you notice that's got that 60s really full, almost New Testament bassy sound where everything is hi-fi and the horns are gorgeous and they take up a lot of space. Lot of very egotistical players on that track. They are a little bit all over the place. They're not quite as tight as they would have been with Basie, for example, but still really great. And there are a lot of other really good tracks on that disc. So definitely check that out. It's, of course, on eMusic. And I've got a bonus track. So I said I was going to do 4. I told Jonathan I was going to do 4. I'm doing 5. I found this one while I was randomly digging through eMusic. The track is also Trouble in Mind. In this case, it was one of 4 tracks on the album whose names were in English. So, I actually couldn't pronounce or even read any of the other track names. I just saw Trouble in Mind. I was like, really? The rest of the tracks are in Swedish. And I know this because I found the website and Google told me. I will absolutely butcher the name of this band, but it looks like Peter Carlson and Blagrodorna, which according to Google means Blue Frogs. So Peter Carlson and the Blue Frogs. The album is self-titled on eMusic, but from the website, it looks like it's a 1994 release called Carlson on Stage. Check it.
I'm gonna shine in my back door someday. In some lonesome railroad line, let the seabed train.
All right, listeners in Sweden, you have a mission. Track down Peter Carlson. He's playing now. Find him and get me CDs. With that, I will turn it over to Jonathan. So Jonathan has recorded his piece for this month, and I'll just play it for you.
Welcome to Confessing the Blues, Part 2, or Part A, whichever order Keith puts these in when he edits them. I'm Jonathan Pecho, your other host, and I've got a few things I want to share with you for this somewhat abbreviated show. I've got a few songs I want to share, some really great feedback, and some good news for those of y'all who want to hear me DJ again. First, let's go ahead and note the miracles of modern technology that are allowing me to record this in my bed. Yes, in my bed, horizontal. This does not make for easy combination of laptop reading, microphone use, and the various other accoutrements that I need to manage this recording. But I still want to say that I love living in the future and being able to do all of this while, laying in bed. It's fantastic. I'm just living in the land of the lotus eaters now. All right, let's go ahead and get on with current news and events regarding, well, me right now. Blues Shot was fantastic. Keith and I are going to do a full post-mortem on it when we have a little more time and energy. Just the summary for me was that I had fantastic dances. I saw some fantastic dancing. There was great music coming from the DJs. The live music had some wonderful aspects to it, and there was a lot of fun in general. It was also very productive for me. It looks like I've got 2 additional DJ gigs coming up over the next few months. One that I can definitely confirm right now is going to be at Emerald City Blues Festival in November. So if you are not planning on going to that, you need to fix that right now. It's going to be a really great weekend. I want to thank Martin and Toe for inviting me. I'm absolutely already looking forward to it. I'm completely, stoked about going out to Seattle for a weekend. I'll fill you in on the details on the other event once I get that a little more locked down. But got those coming up for me. It's going to be great. All right. So now I want to talk about a few new tunes. Didn't want to leave y'all dry for the month, even though we're barely getting this in at the end of the month here. Our first track's going to be by Johnny Young. Johnny Young played in Chicago in the 40s. He played with Sonny Boy Williamson II, Muddy Waters, those kind of guys. Retired in the 50s for a while, and then in the 60s when everybody decided they loved blues again, he popped back up and started recording again. This is going to be one of those later recordings. It's from an album titled Chicago Blues that's on eMusic. The track here is called Moaning and Groaning. Check it out.
Moaning and groaning, trying to get myself a girl. Make it beat, Jack Spain. But Lord, I ain't getting nowhere. Yeah!
If Keith hasn't already made the point of the mandolin being a really cool instrument in blues, I wanted to go ahead and contribute that to this case, because Johnny Young was a notable guitar player and mandolin player, as well as a pretty solid singer. And this track, it really stands out to me. It's a really great sound. The cast on this album includes Big Walter Horton, James Cotton, Otis Spann. So you need to check this album out. It's on eMusic. It's a great. It's one of the 12. It's not a deal track, so you'll just have to just bite the bullet and get it. But Arhoolie put out a really great collection on this one. So, all right, second track is something a little more modern. Linwood Slim, a guy who started back in the 70s, put his influences as Jimmy Reed and Little Walter, but he picked up in the footsteps of Kim Wilson when he left Minneapolis to move to Austin, and he picked up for a band and set up as the Linwood Slim Band. Basically swing blues, really fun stuff. Actually, kind of jumps all over the range of tempo and sound. There's some great work here, though. All right, the track that I wanted to play for y'all is Wee Baby Blues. Go ahead and check this out.
I was on my way to school. It was early one morning. Yes, I was on my way to school. You know that was the morning when I broke my mother's golden rule. I've been in love with you, baby, before I learned to...
All right, so that's a really good laid back sound. It really works for me just in how relaxed it is and how comfortable it is to just kind of just sort of fall into it and not have to jump to it. It really, really relaxing. The album's Last Call. Go check it out on eMusic. All right. Our third song of choice here, or my third song of choice, I should say, is from Muggsy Spanier. And I just love the guy's name. It just rolls off. It's Muggsy. And you actually hear that if you actually listen to this song. The song's Featherbrain Blues. It's off of the Manhattan Masters 1945, which is, as usual, on eMusic. Go ahead and check out the song, and we'll talk a little more about it. All right, if you listen to the whole song, you hear the exchange back and forth between Muggsy on cornet and the guy whistling, and this is a really different call and response than I hear in a lot of other music. It just offers a really different sort of dynamic. Muggsy Spaniard played with a who's who of the early hot jazz musicians. I mean, it's Fats Waller, Earl Hines. He was absolutely obsessed with King Oliver and Louis Armstrong. I mean, he picked up a lot from them. I mean, he really put a lot of great music out there. And if you listen to the Manhattan Masters collection, it's not all blues. It's a lot of hot jazz. I mean, as most of those collections that you find are, very few of the bands that produced music of that style and that era are purely blues, but they're really great music. And this track is a good one. I actually played that over Shout, and just a really neat collection of sound that comes together for dancers there. All right, the last track I want to offer up to y'all is off of a tribute album that's called Things About Coming My Way, a tribute to the music of the Mississippi Sheiks. Now, the Mississippi Sheiks were a band that was a little bit country, you might say. Guitar and fiddle, a guitar and fiddle group that played in the 30s. They actually played a lot more diverse styles of music than just country blues. They came out of the Mississippi Delta. They actually played in various incarnations for a number of years, with different members of the band kind of picking up the reins and going up through about the 60s with that name. They ended up influencing a lot of musicians in the area and all over the country. I mean, you start seeing their influence with guys like Big Bill Broonzy, Memphis Minnie, a whole bunch of guys that heard this and were inspired by it and pushed forward to make their own music. Now, the tribute album that's on eMusic is a really ridiculous list in my mind of artists. Some of them I'd never heard of until I saw this. Some of them are guys that we actually have seen recently. John Hammond's on this, the guy who just won the Grammy for Classic Blues. Indidi Onakulu, which is my favorite name to say now, is on this. She's got a few other songs that I've played here and there. Madeline Piro, Jeff Moldauer, the Carolina Chocolate Drops, a band that I'm looking forward to see with Ruthie Foster here in Dallas in a couple of months. Bob Brosman's on this. There's some really great musicians on this collection doing different tracks here. I was shown this and just got all kinds of excited. So here, go ahead and listen to the track. Check it out.
I'm a stranger to you, and you're a stranger to me. I'm a stranger to you, and you're a stranger to me. If you'd be my babe, how happy I would be. I've traveled uptown.
All right, that was Bruce Cockburn doing a song called "Honey Babe, Let the Deal Go Down." The sample isn't gonna do full justice to this song because it builds up from beginning to end, and I mean it's another thing that the Sheiks actually were known for doing music that was very suggestive. Obviously, this is another very suggestive song, but it's one that I just really like. I really like the sound of. I like the energy that comes into it. It's it's one that builds up fantastically for dancers all the way up from this kind of very sort of diminutive beginning, a very plain sound, and then just builds up to a full chorus. So go ahead and check those out. Those are all eMusic picks. I've got some other stuff I'm adding to my collection right now that'll be ready for the next podcast, I hope. All right. Last thing that I have to offer you guys is a piece of feedback from Christine Moser. She says, "Hey, Keith and Jonathan, I spent last year traveling through Europe and discovered that swingin' blues is flourishing in what seems to be an underground scene. I thought I'd share some of my discoveries." And she lists the two bands. The first is the Lake Village Ramblers Jazz Band. A song called Tin Roof Blues. It's a fairly standard tune, but this is a band from Bern, Switzerland. Their music isn't available online, but I wanted you guys to hear this because this is a really strong tune. Go ahead and check this out here. All right, you can see that the New Orleans style jazz still really strong in Europe, and we see that in like the Wolverines jazz band of Bern and a series of other bands. Europe has really found a grip on jazz and blues, and have never wanted to let them go. This is the second band that Christine suggests, is the Caledonian Blues Band. They don't have a studio album available online either, but I want you to listen to this version of Too Late and make sure you take a moment to appreciate the sound of the vocalist on this.
Baby, yeah, so late. I'm tired of feeling deceiving. I can't stand the crazy and I'm gone. I'm tired of feeling deceiving. I can't stand the creeping. I'm gone. Jake, you know I love you. I don't know just why. Told the world that of you. By the day I see, bye bye, bye bye. Too late, too late.
So the sound of the words of Too Late coming out in this really rich Italian accent, I find it awesome and hilarious, but mostly awesome. That was a band that she found in Rome. They toured with Mud Morganfield for a while. The harmonica player on it's really good. One of the things that she and I got emailing back and forth on this was kind of talking about the culture of the way that they do dances, and let me rephrase this: the way they do performances in Europe with this. From what she experienced, it's not like you're getting, you've got someone at the door and the merch booth and the kind of standard show that you're sort of funneled in, and then they give me your money, and it's way too structured. But when you go to anything in this country, in a lot of circumstances, in this place, it's much more laid back, much more social, more like a jam. Food involved for everybody. It was much more simple. I mean, and this is a European aspect of cultures, and in some ways can be more simple than in these things, and trying to accommodate the social aspects of music. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately in the context of how we do events and how people get together and how many people have to come together, and part of me, this is a topic I want to discuss later when I can actually do it with Keith, because I think there's something to that thought of promoting community and everybody taking care of each other and watching out for each other, as opposed to doing everything for the bottom line. I mean, the world kind of says we have to do it for the bottom line, but I have to believe that there's some more to it than that. So anyway, that's all I've got for music and events now. I hope to hear you. You guys can hear me in a couple of more weeks. We're gonna go ahead and get a full recording here done as soon as our schedules allow it, and Keith is no longer hyperventilating from trying to get Shout done. I mean, he's still dealing with all the paperwork and things, so everybody make sure you give him some thanks for that, because he's still wading through things from the after effects of such a big event. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll hear y'all. We will speak to y'all again very soon. Thanks very much.
All right. Confession time. I am not laying in my bed. However, I am drinking tea, which those of you who know me and understand how much I absolutely abhor drinking bitter water will understand what I'm doing to bring this podcast to you right now. The throat's a little bit scratchy, but I figured I would take one for the team, so to speak. And, I'm just never going to record this from my bed. That's just never going to happen. Anyway, congrats, Jonathan, on Emerald City Blues Fest. I am going to try my ass off to get up there this year. I missed it last year, and I'm really bummed about it. I actually inadvertently DJ'd there during 2008. I was not on the roster, and I didn't get paid, but I did have a really good time, and met some really great people up there, and would love to get back. I've actually been, poking at Martin and Topher and trying to wangle my way back in ever since. So Jonathan, good on you, mate. And if you hadn't guessed, my fake Australian accent means that it is time for some audio feedback from our Australian-Swedish correspondent, Kate Bramley-Moore. I've been taunting her for a couple of months now, and she finally decided to call in and leave us a message. Check it out.
Hi, it's Kate Bramley-Moore from Gothenburg, Sweden calling here. Obviously, the accent isn't Swedish. I'm Australian. But I just wanted to let you guys know how the weekend with Damon Stone went. It was fantastic. The people here were really, really pleased. I got lots of positive comments, and even a hug from a guy who just couldn't possibly express how much he enjoyed the weekend in words. I'm just about to head out and DJ the first Friday night blues at our local hall, which is absolutely amazing. And I just wanted to let you know that I've been really enjoying the podcast. And this evening I will be playing at least one of my two favorites of late, one of which is I'll Play the Blues for You by Albert King, which I cannot get enough of. Keep up the good work with the podcast, and I look forward to, actually no, truth be told, I don't look forward to hearing my own voice on the podcast, but it would be kind of cool still. Thanks, and talk soon. Bye.
You might run across, some of your old friends. All your loneliness, I've got to soothe. I'll play the blues for you. Come on in.
So that Albert King album is on eMusic. We will post a link to it in the show notes. There is a shorter version of the song available. It's on the Wattstax soundtrack. And by shorter, I mean that it's 5 minutes and 45 seconds instead of over 7 minutes. So if you hear that song come on, if you're at Kate's dance, for example, go find a person you really want to dance with, because you'll be out there quite a while. Thank you, Kate, for calling in. Definitely appreciate the feedback, and looking forward to hearing more from you in the future. You sound fantastic. Don't not call because of it. Anyway, one last piece of audio feedback this short month of April. It's from Dwayne Grover in Washington, D.C. I have known Dwayne for many, many years. We actually met doing a little bit of a dance road trip from Atlanta up to D.C. in 2000. So, here's what Dwayne has to say. Check it out.
Hey, Keith, Jonathan, it's Dwayne Grover. Just calling in. I see that you guys are wrapping up episode number 9, and I've listened to them all. Sometimes I've waited a month or two and then caught up, but it's really good so far, and I hope you guys keep it up. Obviously, talk to you both just slightly a Blue Shout, but here's a thought. As I was thinking over some of the stuff for Blue Shout, I think I want to start a petition to have Rattler Moan not ever played again in a performance or a competition, simply because everybody uses it. Now, obviously, it's an awesome song. I've loved it the first time I heard it, but I've heard it a million times since then. I think it's time we need to put that one away. What do you say? Can we all get on board on this one? So other than that, Blue Shout was indeed awesome. Keith, congrats to you. The very single coolest thing about the weekend was the spankers, and I'm so glad that you got them. Like I said, especially when you're standing up near the band, they sounded really, really good. And I loved actually, having listened to them for a few years now, I loved actually being able to dance to them live. So, really cool. Okay, that's about it. Remember, Rattler Moan, no longer played. Right? Okay, later.
All right, thanks, Dwayne, for listening and for calling in. If you are not familiar with the song that Dwayne is talking about, the actual title is Black Rattler. It is off an album with an incredibly long title. You have almost certainly heard this song before. Check it out. The album name, since I didn't mention it, is The Carl Sonny Leland Trio meets Nathan James and Ben Hernandez. And we've talked about Nathan and Ben before, so this was an album they did with Carl Leland on piano, and the album is great. The song has gotten a lot of play. I checked in with Jonathan after we got Dwayne's message, and he says, I approve of Dwayne and his suggestion. I endorse this candidate. Personally, I've only ever played the song twice. Both times we're here in Austin, and I have not played it since February of 2009. I will happily leave it on the shelf. I have 1,000 other tracks that I don't get to play enough. So, Dwayne, as for everyone else, you'll need to start a Facebook group or something. 1 million strong against Black Rattler. That does actually bring to mind something interesting, and maybe we'll talk about it next time in the Blue Shout section, is musical selection for competitions and performances in blues. And the reason I say that is the Black Rattler track was played during Blue Shout this year as a competition piece. So what do you say, Jonathan? You in? Comps and performance pieces and song selection for that? I think it sounds like a good idea. So next month is our Confessing the Blues wrap-up edition for Blue Shout. I'm going to be getting on the phone and tracking down all of our illustrious staff for their music picks. Jonathan and I will, of course, talk your ear off, and we will have a ton of new music for you next time. We'll have all the tracks from the teachers and DJs, and, Jonathan promises new music, and I will dig something up, I'm sure. Until then, take it easy. Don't forget to send us your feedback. info@confessingtheblues.com and 60theblues. That's 608-432-5837. On behalf of Jonathan, who's probably at work right now, and myself, thank you very much for listening. We will see you in May. Take care.